First, I don't think people are watching TV news anymore. I don't think they're reaching millions.
A prime time broadcast reaches millions with a fake narrative, and while a fact check might only reach a fraction of that audience, in moments like that, how do you define impact? Does it ever feel like trying to empty an ocean with a spoon?
When you have to fact check, then you have to give exact details that this happened here and this is the quote. Until the time you don't give the exact details, you can't publish an article. So what is expensive is fact checking. What is AI? I would still think that there are costs involved. How many people are purely crowdfunded in this country in terms of media organizations? How many people are pure? How many organizations? Just few.
Is pure public donation is a viable financial model for the next 5 or 10 years?
The amount of money they spend on IT, as in their IT outreach, it has increased many folds.
Hello, welcome to Update Other View. Today we have with us Mr. PRATIK SINHA, a co-founder of Alt News and a pioneer in India's defense against digital misinformation. So, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much.
And how was your stay in Kerala? How was
very nice to know.
Yeah. And I think we can start from the Alt News itself. When you founded the Alt News in 2017, disinformation was largely mere Photoshop images and information shared through WhatsApp text messages.
Yeah.
And today we are dealing with hyper-realistic AI deepfakes and cloned voices. How radically has your day-to-day job changed, and can traditional fact-checking actually keep pace with generative AI?
Actually, the biggest issue right now is not deepfake. It is an issue. But what has really changed from when we first started in 2017 and 2026, it is not the mechanism through which the misinformation produced. It is the machinery behind who's producing misinformation. That has radically changed. So when we first started, there was some, few people on social media. Someone wanted to make a quick buck. They would create a website, put out misinformation. Then, videos being circulated that, usually sort of around the issue of religious sentiment, and some photos being circulated, but there wasn't a machinery behind it. Now, if you see 2026, there are political parties these days have full-fledged corporate organizations running their online propaganda, running their IT cells and all of that. And the amount of money they spend on IT, as in their IT outreach, it has increased many folds. And literally there are like these big giant companies which are running their operations. So the biggest challenge is not that today there is deep fake. The biggest challenge today is that misinformation, firstly the acknowledgement that the online space can mold people's minds very effectively. That back in the day when political parties had to go door to door to campaign, now you can run a campaign 24/7 for 365 days, and any information that you put out can reach from Kashmir to Kanyakumari in seconds. And the realization that this online medium is so powerful, and then weaponizing it, not utilizing it, weaponizing it to the point that today we don't know, the online media ecosystem has become so corrupt, so extremely corrupt, that we have no clue what to believe, what not to believe, right? We struggle in most aspects, and especially for a younger generation which has not seen a different world. You and I probably grew up in a world where there was no social media and all of that, there was media. But for a generation which has only grown up in this world, for them, they have not even seen a different world. So I feel the biggest challenge today is the fact that our online ecosystem has been weaponized, and also the fact this part is also equally important, that platforms like Facebook, X, Instagram, etc., these are billion-dollar companies, and they only benefit if more and more people share more information, and usually that formula becomes people sharing provocative information, people sharing clickbait information, people sharing half information. And so that is the second part of the challenge. That is, there are these billion-dollar platforms who actually benefit from all the misinformation that is shared, all the hate speech that is shared. So this is a two-part problem. Now the third part, which is deepfake and AI. And yes, that is an upcoming problem. Recently in Alt News we did a story about how much misinformation is being generated using deepfake. But yeah, and we will struggle. It is becoming more and more realistic, etc. But the thing is that you don't have to deepfake for people to fall for misinformation. People are falling for misinformation anyway. So I think the root of the issue is the fact that most Indians, most citizens of this country have no training at any point in time to do any kind of critical thinking about the information that they get.
You are a software engineer turned into this journalist role, and with AI making this creation of fake information incredibly cheap and scalable. And do you think the goal of this disinformation has shifted? Is it still about making people believe in certain lie, or is it just now about creating so much chaos that citizens simply stop believing anything is true?
Again, I would like to sort of push back a little. I don't think AI creating misinformation was always cheap. When we started in 2017 or 2020, what do? We take a photo from somewhere and say it is, instead of saying that it is from Jaipur, we'll say it is from Kannur, right? We take a video which is from some place in Colombia and we will say that it is happening in West Bengal. So I don't think creating misinformation ever was an expensive affair. Creating misinformation has always been a very, very cheap affair. What is expensive affair is fact checking. That it takes 2 seconds to create misinformation, and then when you have to fact check, then you have to give exact details that this happened here and this is the quote. Until the time you don't give the exact details, you can't publish an article. So what is expensive is fact checking. What is AI? I would still think that there are costs involved more than before, because in AI, for example, if you have to create a AI generated video, it needs frontier. If you have to generate a realistic video, then it needs frontier AI models which are not cheap. To create a video which looks very real. Let's say if you have to create a video of the Kerala CM saying something, then usually Indian politicians don't talk in empty rooms. They talk with people around them, right? So now what would be involved in creating a video of let's say a deep fake of Kerala CM? Then you have to deep fake the people around him as well, and then it is not that difficult to fact check that, oh, these people do not exist, as opposed to, let's say, an American president who sits alone in a room and talks, right? So the Indian scenario is slightly different, especially political misinformation, where politicians are always surrounded by people. So creating a deepfake is more difficult. But other kinds of frauds have increased. Banking frauds, voice cloning, where people are called, somebody will call and say your child has been arrested with drugs, and hear their voice, and it'll be exactly your child's voice. So I will not call that misinformation. I will call those online frauds, and that has become, and that is return of investment, right? In the sense that you are cloning someone's voice, you are all this digital arrest, everything that is happening. then there is, people are giving up money, people are giving money because they are thinking that they are caught, and people are giving money. So I think deepfake AI has different challenges. Yes, misinformation is a challenge, but I also feel that our issues are much deeper. Like deepfake and AI is there at the top, but our issues are much deeper. We were already in a lot of deep shit for a very long time.
In many of your interviews, you have argued like the fake news in India is accidental. It's like accidental, and it is an organized, well-funded industry used for political traction. When the machinery generating this disinformation is tied to a powerful political interests, how do you fight the accusation that the fact checkers themselves are being aligned or selective or partisan?
Firstly, we are not trying to fight any kind of accusation. We are just trying to do our jobs. There is misinformation out there. We are fact checking it. We know that we are fact checking all sides. We also know that there's more misinformation from one side. Misinformation, as I said at the start, that creation of propaganda is now a whole industrial affair.
Yes.
And who can do it the most? The party which has the most amount of money. And in India, we know which party has the most amount of money. So, so obviously that party and the supporters of that party are creating most amount of misinformation, and we are fact checking them more frequently than others. And that is the truth of the matter. Now, people can say whatever, that you're aligned this way, aligned that way. But I feel that BJP is the party in power in most states, and they are the ones who need to be held accountable. There are very few parties other than BJP who are in power. And we also know that there is a collapse of the institutions, a collapse of all kinds of institutions, whether it's electoral, whether it's judicial, all of these institutions, ED, all of that. And especially now, if you are in the space of journalism, if you're not holding the people in power accountable, then when will you?
That's it. That's a great answer. A huge part of alt news work has been tracing the ecosystem of hate speech. Have you noticed a shift in how the mainstream political figures interact with misinformation? Are they becoming more cautious, or has spreading unverified content become entirely normalized?
It's opposite. They are not become cautious. In fact, for example, last year, I had commented on some senior journalist's account. In Delhi, there was a meeting, and there were people like Rishi Bagri, all of these people who are known to put out misinformation, and then there were senior journalists in the same room with I forget who from BJP was there, probably Amit Shah, I forget who was there, but they are very much comfortable being in presence, not just the politicians, even senior media personnel are very much comfortable being in presence with people who are routinely who are known to work for a party and known to put out information that is incorrect. We have seen tons and tons of pictures. They get validation from that. You'll see them clicking selfies with, from Nirmala Sitharaman to this to that. They are actually being entertained as opposed to being cautious. They are being entertained. When Prime Minister came to power this time, so many people from this very gang were called for that initial thing at initial ceremony. So no, they are not being cautious. They are accepting that this is part of their work sphere.
Again, I am coming back to this alt news, and between 2022, arrest of your co-founder, Mr. Mohammed Zubair, continuous legal notices, and targeted harassment, alt news operates under immense pressure. And how do you manage the psychological toll and physical safety of a small team when the state itself often views your work with hostility?
See, I feel that if you look at this as one big picture, it is difficult to deal with it. You have to break it down into smaller pictures. Number one, how are organizations being targeted? Mostly the organizations are being targeted through financial means, whether it is NewsClick or someone else. You know, the first thing that one has to do, that you cannot even give them an element of doubt, especially when your finances are concerned. And so we run purely through donations. We only accept donations from Indian citizens. We don't accept cash. Everything is online. So everything is transparent in their, so it is very difficult for them to prove that we are doing some kind of ghapla. Secondly, we have certain editorial policies that don't use adjectives or use as few adjectives as possible. Write what is a statement of fact. We will not say this person is a serial misinformation spreader. We will say this person who has shared misinformation so many times with a reference. So write fact-backed statements. And have a good team of lawyers.
that benefits such in such a time, right? Sir? Your father, Mukul Sinha, he was a legendary human rights activist and lawyer. How much does this legacy of challenging systemic power influence the way you navigate the constant legal and institutional pushback alt news faces today?
Very much. Both my parents, my mother, Nijari Sinha, has been a lifelong activist at equal footing with my father. And the very creation of alt news was influenced by the fact that I was born in that family. Of course, I have my independent thoughts and everything, and my mother is still the managing director of the organization, while me and Zubair, she is also equally a co-founder as Zubair and I. And it is very important for family to back you up in these things, because when the state is going at you, then family needs to back you up. And I think there has been a lot of support from my family, and of course the fact that I grew up in a space where thinking about the politics of the land was happening at every meal, at every time you are at the dining table, you are talking about issues of the land. And so then you naturally go into that space where you're thinking about it, and you're trying to figure out how to use your skills to deal with it, and which is what brought me, I will not say brought me from engineering to journalism, because I'm still very much an engineer, but which made me look in other ways of how to use my skills in other ways.
Alt news doesn't just debunk the viral videos. You frequently call out major primetime news channels for broadcasting outright falsehoods. And why do you think mainstream Indian journalism has so thoroughly abandoned basic verification, effectively outsourcing its duty to a small non-profit newsroom like yours?
For multiple reasons. Earlier you had asked a question that it is that I have said in previous interviews, that it is a well-organized thing. The well-organized thing is part of mainstream media being part of it. Very often we have seen, when it comes to misinformation, for example, the recent India-Pakistan thing, where the Indian mainstream media, destroyed the Karachi port. Indian mainstream media made Indian army enter Lahore. All of that. Now, this is not some IT cell doing it. This is primetime anchors saying things like that. And I strongly believe that that this is a layered approach. Who will say what? Even for example, when Indian students were stuck in Russia, Indian media was saying all kinds of things to defend the government, and social media was saying different things. So I strongly believe that different jobs are given to different entities. That mainstream media has to do this kind of defending, social media has to go a step beyond and say things which are more absurd. Of course, as we go along, things are becoming more and more absurd, with mainstream media now saying anything. And the sad part of it is that, again, I keep thinking about the younger people, because I go to all these colleges and speak, and when I look at them and I think about which TV channel they can switch on today to look at news, they'll keep switching channels, but all of them would be mouthpieces of the government. And whether it is English or Hindi, because that is the belt that I mostly deal with, and there's nothing that you can switch on today. As a young person, where do you go looking for news? And then you have to depend on an Instagram algorithm or a Facebook algorithm to get your information, which can become a very, very close space, because it can put you in a space where it will just keep giving information that you want to see. So you will never get a all-rounded sort of information gathering system. But coming back to news, one, of course, complete takeover by monopoly capitalists from Adani to Ambani. They are controlling large parts of our news things, and it is equivalent to Facebook running Facebook, like Meta running Facebook, that they are only concerned for profit. So these days you see NDTV defending Adani, News 18 has been defending Ambani for a very long time, and of course the political connections with the monopoly capitalists. So it is this connection of power, monopoly capitalism and media that is at the center of destroying the Indian media ecosystem. Second is that everything is advertiser backed. When I remember a few years ago when ABP fact checked Prime Minister, next day Baba Ramdev withdrew all advertisements and only put back the advertisements when 3 anchors were fired from ABP. So an advertiser run system is very, very susceptible, especially in a country where we talk about ease of business, but it is essentially ease of business for people who are friendly with people in power. It is not ease of business for everyone. So if you are funding a news organization and if you cross the government, and when you're funding the news organization, obviously you have other business interests. In India, all media organizations, all the major media organizations, the media organization is a smaller interest. They have bigger industries. I think Times of India was the only one till the longest time which was only doing media, but now they're also doing so many things. They have a university, they're doing real estate and whatnot. So they have all of these other interests which actually make money. Media doesn't make money. So if they cross the government using their media arm, the government will cross them in all their other business interests. So the very formation of media, why the word independent media? Independent media essentially means that their funding sources are not susceptible to pressure, any kind of pressure. So whether it's a news laundry, whether it's a Wire, whether it's News Minute, all of these have been able to do good work because their funding sources, it is difficult to bring them into pressure. And that is why I feel that even though independent media organizations are tiny, they are able to do good work because they are actually being able to be true to their profession.
Starting from I think while thinking about this mainstream media and the alternative media like ours or independent media, it's like there is an asymmetry in reach. A prime time broadcast reaches millions with a fake narrative, And while a fact check might only reach a fraction of that audience, in moments like that, how do you define impact? Does it ever feel like trying to empty an ocean with a spoon?
Firstly, I don't think there's a way to measure this. First, I don't think people are watching TV news anymore. I don't think they're reaching millions. They are also competing in the same social media space that we are competing. Of course, they have money to sponsor their posts and all of that. But I also see, some random. See, it is not just about independent media, right? It is about independent. One person can be an independent media.
Yes, it is.
Right? It does not always have to be an organization. So, for example, one person makes a parody video of PM meeting international dignitaries. You must have seen that, that video, and that video goes viral, right? And is seen by many more people than mainstream media can reach. Then some other person makes another video. So, and there are so many young people on Instagram who I see they're doing all kinds of things and reaching many people. So I don't think that we are able to measure who's reaching what. That is number one. Number two, I see discontent in people. People can also understand their own misery, right? You can keep saying that, that the sky is blue. But if the sky is grey, people can feel that the sky is grey. You don't always have to tell them that the sky is grey. So I do feel, when you go fill petrol at a petrol pump, you will see that it is 100 rupees plus, right? When you go buy vegetables, you will feel the pinch. When you go buy meat, you will feel the pinch. So, and it is not that the salaries are increasing, the taxes are increasing. So, yeah, maybe mainstream media is not doing any decent journalism at all. But I feel that there is, yes, it is a confused state, and I don't know where we will go from here as a country. But I also don't think that people are only believing a one-sided narrative. There are many people who are seeing other sides as well. Of course, in this, because of this so many years of especially anti-Muslim propaganda, which has happened from mainstream media, whether it is during COVID, when they at every point in time, and social media, the amount of anti-Muslim propaganda that happens, the social fabric has torn. And when will that get repaired? We don't know. We also see just enormous amount of hate speech that is being put out, which is much more than when it was before. We see meetings happening in different states, public rallies where people are saying all kinds of things. And it is okay to say those kinds of things now. It was not okay 10 years ago. And when will we go back from this space? I don't know. How long, if ever, will it take to repair this distrust that has been created? But at the same point in time, I feel that the struggle is going on.
And alt news is famously crowdfunded, and refuses the corporate or government's ad money to protect its independence, I think. Given how polarized the funding landscape has become, and is pure public donation is a viable financial model for the next 5 or 10 years?
I think it's okay. How many people are purely crowdfunded in this country in terms of media organizations? How many people are purely, how many organizations? Just a few. And with 1 billion people, I think you can support a few organizations. I'm not saying there aren't challenges. There are challenges, but till date we have been, next year we will finish 10 years. We started in 2017. In Feb 2027, we'll
So you
finish.
yourself become an example.
We'll finish 10 years. Every month, everyone has gotten salary exactly on the 3rd, and every year, everyone gets a raise. So we are generating enough money for a small team. Is it possible to run a giant media organization using crowdfunded money in India? I don't know. But for example, in UK, Guardian does a lot of crowdfunding. So it is also a question of people realizing that, you know, if they give 500 rupees a month to an organization like Alt News, then that 500 rupees has a lot of impact.
If we can't fully trust the tech platforms to fix their algorithms, and we can't trust the governments to regulate fake news without turning it into a tool of censorship, what is the actual solution, and what does the genuinely media literate society look like to you?
Solution, I don't know. See, solution has to come through multiple parties coming and talking together. For example, the issue of law. I feel that it's a slippery slope. But I do know, for example, you just said that, you know, will the platforms fix its algorithms? Never. They will never fix it. So we have to know that the only, and it's not just about algorithms, they are much more toxic than that, that the only way is to look for alternatives. The only way is to abandon Google, Facebook, all of these. Go back to email systems which were there. Don't use Gmail. They're harvesting your data. You know, use alternative forms of media, and when you use alternative forms of media, then they will become better. Secondly, your online space is even crazier than your offline space. For example, when you pick a phone, it can be only 2 operating systems in the world which are produced by 2 companies control the phones of the whole world. It's either Apple's iOS or Google's Android. 99.99% phones are through these. So when you install an app, 2 companies are controlling the whole world's app market. Every space of your digital sphere, even going much beyond misinformation, is being controlled by monopoly capitalists, and there is no future here. You have to break away and take a different path. You cannot continue using these mediums. Don't use these mediums to say that these mediums are bad. Okay, definitely use these mediums. They are running from, you know, money that is extracted from us. But at the same point in time, look for alternatives. Parents should ensure that they are pressurizing school administrations to do media literacy in schools. That it should start from class 5, class 4, where students are being taught about biases, about what is a fact, what is an opinion, what is the difference between a fact and an opinion. Children are being taught what is an algorithm, you know, how does the information that you receive, how is it being influenced by an algorithm, and all of this, because we have done some work in schools, it is very much possible. And if we want a media literate society, then it has to come from the people, that we want our child to, it is like, why do we take a vaccine when we are young? So that we don't get polio, we don't get measles, all of that. And if we stop taking vaccines, then, and there are examples in different parts of the world where there has been anti-vaccine propaganda, and then certain diseases have come back. Misinformation is an epidemic. Just like we had no control over who got COVID, we have no control who falls for misinformation. All of us fall for misinformation. All of us are being misled. So then we need a vaccine, and media literacy is the vaccine, where we teach our children how to be more vigilant about the information that they receive. We need alternative platforms where making more money every year is not the only agenda. We have to think about communities. We have to think about self-hosting. That is, we host our own software. We don't, we have to think about decentralization, that it should not be possible that two people sitting in a white land are making decisions for the whole world. That when they think platforms should not have fact checking, the whole world does not have fact checking. When they think, and for example, there was a video of Mark Zuckerberg speaking on NBC, where he says that politicians should not be fact checked because they are already overly scrutinized. Now, this is a white man sitting in a small city called Palo Alto and making decisions for the world without knowing what the world is, and affecting all of us. We know that politicians are not scrutinized here. They have willingly, we have seen what has happened in Myanmar, the exodus in Myanmar. We have seen riots in Philippines, in Sri Lanka. All of this because there was unchecked misinformation and hate speech which was put out on social media. So we have to know that these platforms are toxic. They're not good for the future of humankind, and we have to move away from them. Just yesterday I was on Twitter and I saw this guy saying how much he has invested so much money in Meta, and I was thinking about that this whole system at this point of time, while we are thinking about misinformation, we are definitely not thinking about what roles platforms play in the world that has been created.
So there is a last question comes, and how hopeful are you about the future of independent media in the country?
I'm hopeful about people, and it doesn't matter how much propaganda you do. When people are unhappy, they are unhappy, and that is not going to change. And that unhappiness will produce things, whether it's independent media, whether it's protests, and all of that. So yeah, I do still strongly believe that people can think for themselves.
Thank you to Mr. Sinha for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thanks.
Have a great day. Thank
Thanks.
you.